I guess you can add qualifying to the many things that fell off in NASCAR. Qualifying didn't used to be a big deal during the early days in NASCAR. I mean, it's time trials after all, and you would think that wouldn't grow into something big, but it did. And it wasn't any drastic changes made to qualifying itself to make it entertaining. NASCAR lined up the cars on pit road, one car at a time would take the track, and that driver gets 2 laps to make their run. No rounds, no groups, just a simple qualifying format. No, it wasn't the qualifying format that made it special, but a combination of things that made it a spectacle. You see, unlike nowadays where the cup cars are getting slower because of NASCAR and the OEMs wanted it to be that way, unfortunately, the cup cars were getting faster and faster and faster as time went on. From the very beginning all the way to 2014, the faster they go, the more fun it is to watch. Putting a car in qualifying trim will be taping the grill up solid, pumping the air pressure up on the tires to have the car make the fastest lap possible. That's what you call a car in full kill qualifying trim. The cars made damn near 900 horsepower by the 2000s, and not only that, but the RPMs these cars were turning was insane. In 2004, teams were turning RPMs well over 10,000, which made the car sound so good.
In the number 29 Goodwrench Chevrolet, we're calling that Wrangler paint scheme. Of course, the first car that Dale Earnhardt drove with a Wrangler paint scheme.
Pretty tight field over 40 cars.
Jeff, do you sense a lot of apprehension down in the garage? And there's cars.
4th, finished 2nd, led 100 laps in the 500 in the spring race here back at the Netherlands.
I loved it when I was leaving. That's what I loved about this.
He was 2nd fastest in practice. Of course, the Mears family racing name synonymous with this racetrack. Uncle Rick won a quartet of the Indy 500s.
Listening to that just puts a smile on your face, doesn't it? It's badass. It's something that just made the cup cars so much more cooler back then. NASCAR introduced a gear rule in 2005 where teams couldn't turn well over 10,000 RPMs, but it didn't ruin the qualifying experience because they were still turning a ton of RPMs and the cars continued to get faster after 2004. It was also cool how each manufacturer and team had a different engine pitch sound, and you could really pick up on this because every car was going out one at a time. Cars reaching 190 to 200 miles per hour was becoming much more common by the early 2000s because so many bigger tracks were being built. You had Texas, Kansas, Chicagoland, and Auto Club coming to the picture, and these were tracks that were bad fast. Seeing a car set an average speed of 197 miles per hour like what Jeffrey Bodine set in 1997 after Atlanta got reconfigured is mind-blowing stuff. This is when qualifying started to become more exciting. These cars got faster at these 1.5 and 2 mile tracks, and you will hear this from the Fox booth a lot.
He looks awfully good.
He's got a huge advantage with those tires.
How about that?
Hey, and it's a new track record
for Denny Hamlin.
Woo! And that was on lap 1.
Track records being broken is always a big deal. Speaking of a big deal, what if I told you that it was one driver that made everyone step their qualifying game up? One guy that was a consistent threat for the pole, and when he went out on track, the percentage of him snagging the pole position was insanely high. I'm talking about Ryan Newman, the Rocket Man. Ryan Newman was a goddamn monster in qualifying in the mid-2000s. Between 2002 to 2005, Newman collected 34 poles. That is absolutely insane to collect that many poles in a short time period. Like the fuse, here comes the rocket is what Mike Joy would say when Newman was getting ready to make his qualifying run. You just knew that he was about to put down a blistering time. This dude had 4 straight seasons where he won 6 poles or more in a single season. In 2003, he won 11 poles. Newman was the standard when it came to qualifying during this time period. Even though he sits 9th all time with 51 poles, he collected the majority of his poles in a 5-year span. There's no other driver in the modern era that went on a tear like this in qualifying. He made you look forward to qualifying. The question was always, who could dethrone Ryan Newman in qualifying? While Newman was collecting all those poles, the broadcast booth was amazed by what they were seeing, just like the fans. We always talk about legendary calls to races, but it's been amazing calls to qualifying runs as well. Larry Mack screaming the time a driver just ran is something I always liked.
3 and 4. Looks pretty good.
It's the kind of lap you like.
1490.
Looked pretty good.
Believe that.
Looked pretty good.
Made Schrader look pretty good.
Boy, he sure did. I mean, 1490
Stop.
on the half-mile racetrack.
Come in now.
Unbelievable.
It's been other amazing calls as well, like Ryan Newman's pole run in Indianapolis in 2013 with Alan Bestwick.
Nice arc into that corner.
Yeah.
This is where Johnson was so strong.
Going back the other way, the time is.
Can he hang on? It'll be close.
Newman or Johnson? Checkered flag.
Oh, he did it.
Newman, the last driver to run. New track record. Ryan Newman does it.
99 P1. Great job.
And what completes those big moments is the crowd going wild after an impressive qualifying run or just seeing the most popular driver take the track for their run. Yes, there was a good amount of fans in the grandstands doing qualifying back then. Just listen to the crowd.
Now he's over a tenth quicker than Carl Edwards going off into turn 3. In fact, he's pushing toward 2/10 quicker than Carl Edwards.
This baby's on a rail.
This thing looks like she's going to run down in the 28-20s maybe. 28-28 beats Carl Edwards by 0.2 of a second.
Who's the most popular driver in NASCAR? Just look around.
Just listen.
From the crowd.
I don't think he lifted in turn 4. If he did, he didn't lift much.
Let's listen.
And it's a new track record. What do you know? 186.293 miles an hour. Wow.
Hearing the crowd, no matter if it's during a race or qualifying, gives me goosebumps all the time because it tells you that the energy is high during those big moments. So the cars, the broadcast, the crowd, and a few other things made qualifying a spectacle back in the day. Me personally, I haven't enjoyed qualifying as much since 2013. That was the last year where it felt special. NASCAR started messing with the qualifying format in 2014. The first change was group qualifying where you'll have multiple cars on track. There was also multiple rounds as well. You had a certain amount of time to put down the fastest lap before the timer ended for each round. I really didn't care for this because a driver getting the spotlight was pretty much gone. At least with single car qualifying, all eyes was on that one car that was on the track. With group qualifying, someone may put down the quickest time and the camera is not even on them. So I didn't really enjoy that, mainly because of that reason. Group qualifying wasn't a disaster. That was until 2019 where NASCAR went to high downforce low horsepower. So that means the draft was going to be so important for the big tracks. Well, that turned out to be a fucking disaster.
4, 3, 2, 1. Time is
Nobody
expired.
made it. Nobody made it across the line. Oh,
Which I think is going to work great for Austin Dillon.
Yes.
They go back to round number 2.
wow. Can
Maybe
you
we
believe
go
it?
back to round number 2. Maybe we don't. I don't know what we do.
After that debacle, NASCAR went back to single car qualifying and it's been that way since 2019 for the most part. They got this thing now where they split the field into 2 groups and the top 5 make the next round and blah blah blah. I honestly don't really care for it, but I don't hate it. Why can't the qualifying format just be simple? You could have a very entertaining qualifying session with a simple format. Everything I named earlier, from the cars, the broadcasts, and other factors, made qualifying a spectacle, and I would love for it to become like that again one day. So what's your thoughts on qualifying from back then? Do you think it was a spectacle back in the day, or do you think otherwise? Do you like NASCAR's current qualifying format? Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna go ahead and roll up out of here. Y'all have a good one. Peace.